Welcome back to the Deeper 2025 podcast. I'm excited that you have joined us today, and I am excited to talk about Luke chapter 5 today. Hopefully you have read that and you are reading through our reading plan. We're just trying to help you apply what you're reading in the Bible. So Luke chapter 5, let me read for you verses 4 through 6 as we start today. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down your nets for a catch." "Master," Simon replied, "we've worked hard all night long and caught nothing, but if you say so, I'll let down the nets." And when they did this, they caught a great number of fish, and their nets began to tear. Jesus here steps into Simon's ordinary workday. He steps into his career, and he makes something happen that's miraculous. In fact, Peter had just finished, as we find out, a night full of fishing that resulted in next to nothing. They've caught nothing all night long. He was tired. He probably was frustrated. Listen, he was a fisherman by trade, by career. And here's the thing. If you go fishing all night, it's cost you not only time but money to go fishing. And if you don't catch any fish, guess what you make that night? Nothing. So he likely was frustrated. He was ready to just go home, probably go to bed. I've been fishing all night. He's frustrated. He's mad. He's angry. And Jesus gives the command, and he says, go out and put into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch. Now, Simon does respond, "Jesus, I don't think you understand. You're a carpenter. I don't think you understand. We've been fishing all night, and we haven't caught anything. This is just not a good day for fishing." But he says that, but I love what Peter says just in a couple of words. He says, listen, let me read it for you again. "We've worked hard all night long and caught nothing." But here's the phrase I want you to catch on to. "But if you say so." But if you say so. And this is where faith begins, not where things look favorable for us, not where it just seems like everything's going to align, but faith begins when we decide that we're going to obey just because Jesus said so. Peter says, "Because you said so, if you say so, we'll do this." And they do, and you see that the miracle happens, that the fish that they catch are so many that their nets begin to break after a night of catching absolutely nothing. It's an absolute miracle. And I think what we've got to understand from this, and really I want to hinge on that phrase, "but if you say so," we've really got to think through that obedience many times comes before understanding. Peter was the expert here. Peter was the professional fisherman. All of his buddies were the professional fishermen that were in the boat with him. And Jesus comes along and says, "I just need you to obey." And Peter says, "If you say so, we'll do it." And then the miracle comes. And then the understanding comes. And so sometimes we've got to understand that God calls us to obey even when we don't understand. And you don't have to understand it all to obey what God tells you to do. So obedience comes before understanding. But then I think another thing I love about this story is Jesus meets Peter where he's at. He meets Peter in his frustration. He meets Peter probably in his anger. He meets Peter after a night of fishing. He meets him at his job. He doesn't say, "Well, Peter, come on to church with me and we'll meet together and we'll talk and have a good time." He meets him right where he's at. And I think that's an important thing for us because Jesus wants to be a part of your daily routine. He wants to meet you where you are, not necessarily have you come to where he is. And then I think the last thing that I see here is that this, if you'll allow the frustrations of your life, Peter was frustrated. He'd fished all night. I just said this, your empty nets can become a testimony. Your empty nets can become a testimony. Why? Because in your frustration, in your fear, in your rejection even maybe, when Jesus steps in and we obey and he does something miraculous, now we have a story to tell. Now we can tell other people how good Jesus is and how great it is to follow him. And so today, take your cues from Peter. Jesus, if you say so. I don't understand. I don't understand what you're doing, but if you say so, I'm going to obey you. If you say so, I'm just going to do what you say. Obedience comes before understanding. Jesus wants to meet us where we're at, and he wants to give you a story that you can share with other people so that other people will come to know him. So today, make that your phrase. Jesus, if you say so, I'll do it.